You want to know what's keeping me up at night? I'll tell you. Thoughts of suicide. Oh, not me, God forbid, but I know that there are people in this community who would rather take their own lives than to come out to their families about their sexual orientation. You may be wondering, why would I, a nice modern Orthodox Jewish mom from Pikesville, be so concerned about someone hiding their sexual orientation? Well, here is some enlightenment. It was never a big deal for me. In fact, it wasn't even on my proverbial radar until our son came out that he was gay. Yes, that was a big turning point in my life because, you see, when he came out, I suddenly became aware of the lack of resources in our Baltimore Jewish community to support individuals and families who had children who identified as LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning. Our son was 19 years old when he told my husband and me that he was gay. We were shocked, but our initial response was, "We love you. You're our son. It doesn't change anything." And while it was true that it didn't change how we felt towards our son, it changed so many things about our lives. The dreams and expectations that we had for our son were suddenly gone, to be replaced with a new reality, a very unfamiliar one. So one of my next steps was to join a Jewish support group for parents who had gay children. Well, imagine my surprise when I found out there were none. I eventually came to the conclusion that while there had to be other parents who were in my situation, many of them were probably still in the closet themselves and not seeking support. There's such a feeling of shanda, shame, that our society imposes on families like mine. I realized that in some cases there were families that were really struggling with this issue and possibly dealing with issues of suicide, God forbid. I also learned that there were no resources for our precious youth. You see, if a teenager is at a point where he or she is questioning their sexual identity or gender orientation and they can't do this within a safe Jewish space, they are likely to abandon their Judaism, and that is certainly contributing to our assimilation crisis. When I saw there were no community resources available, I took action. I felt a surge of empowerment as though God wanted me to have a gay son at this time in my life because I could be the person who would finally bring these issues out of the closet in Baltimore. And that energy has led me to meet some amazing people who share my passion. Together we have formed a new group called JQ Baltimore, Jewish LGBTQ Outreach and Support. We are dedicated to filling a vital community need by striving for full inclusion of these individuals and their families. By the way, my friends, you can do this too. Have you ever perceived a need and seen that no one else is doing anything about it? You can do as I did, following the words of a great Jewish leader, the very wise man Hillel, who stated, "In a place where there are no men, strive to be a man. Where there's a need for action, you should act." Speaking of action, please take a look at your Jewish institution. Keep in mind the concept of Ahavat Yisrael, loving your fellow Jew. Do you provide a welcoming space for all Jews, regardless of sexual identity and gender orientation? Have you taken steps to assure that every Jew feels included? Here are just some things you can consider if you have not already done so, and the folks at JQ Baltimore would be happy to provide you with further resources. You can be mindful when someone says a homophobic remark. Make a point to take a stand when something like that is said and don't allow it. You can learn how to communicate so that every Jew feels they are a valued member of our people. You can phrase your publicity in a way that every Jew feels welcome. You can attend a class about Torah and homosexuality. There are sources from leading Orthodox scholars that support an inclusive approach without excommunicating a gay or lesbian member from the community. You can offer a program of support for parents and families of gays and lesbians to draw them closer to your community. The Talmud exhorts us that one of the highest values is preserving life and honoring the sanctity of life. My friends, make no mistake. In many cases, we are dealing with matters of life and death. A recent study came out in Israel noting that suicide amongst LGBT youth is significantly higher amongst teens and young adults in the gay community as compared to the identical heterosexual demographic. Each of us was created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. We are obligated to honor the life of each and every Jew. We can't sit idly by as our sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, fathers and mothers struggle with the dilemma of self-acceptance as it pertains to their sexual orientation or gender identity. That can lead to suicide. It's in our hands, my friends. Please join me in taking action now.